That's right, Quant CEO reveals breakthrough to $1,000 QNT. It's about to get serious. Stay tuned till the very end of the video to find out more and all the information regarding the QNT token, the Quant project, and of course, what else the Quant project will be offering to its community and how the price will reach the $1,000 mark. Obviously, guys, just remember that none of this will be financial advice. And with that being said, let's just dive right into today's video where we're going to be reacting to Gilbert Verdian and what his plans are for the coming future. So let's get started.
Society operates very digitally. We roam the world with our phones digitally. We move easily between countries and everything comes with us. But the one thing that's been left behind is our money. People think our money is digital. We've got internet banking, we've got automatic real-time payments and transactions, card payments. All of those things are an overlay of the old money system. When you do a tap on a payment, a lot of things happen in the back end, and linked to that is a lot of parties that have to do things just to make that transaction happen. There's a way to streamline it, obviously, with fraud checks, counterparty risk checks, but there's a better way. If you make it purely digital, in line with society's needs, it removes a lot of the friction, it creates a lot of efficiency, and really provides a new way to use money.
Cryptocurrencies, they're not really money, right? So there's a few things that you have to be money, and one of those is have a stable value. So if you've saved 20 grand, you don't want it to be worth 5 grand the following week because Elon Musk tweeted something, right? So that's mainly the reason why they don't work for this. There's trust that you have in where you store your money, right? You store it with your bank, you trust your bank not to lose it. If you don't trust your bank, there's a compensation scheme because they're regulated. So they're kind of a speculative investment, really. A little bit of gambling is involved in there, but they're not really money.
So yeah, guys, Gilbert Verdian actually talks about a very important thing here, and it's one of the many reasons why Quant is such a great investment, why it's such a great project, and why alongside myself and many others are standing and supporting with his ambitions and his goals. So the first thing I want to touch upon is actually the fact that he mentioned that society operates digitally, but obviously money has been left behind. It's kind of backdated. So the internet banking, automatic payments, and card transactions that all of us do on a day-to-day basis are pretty much overlays of the old money system. So it's kind of like, yes, it's somewhat digital, but it's not fully digital. So we are still relying on physical forms of transactions at the end of the day. And the idea of Quant, or the main objective of Quant, is to streamline payment processes so they can remove friction and create efficiency. So by friction, he means that whenever you want to create a transaction, there's some certain criteria that has to be met for a transaction to be operated. So it's almost like whenever you're trying to buy something, you have to make sure that you have the right amount of funds in your bank account, and however long it takes for the funds to be processed from one end to the other end. And it's kind of a hassle when someone has to do it themselves and make sure that it's done properly, because on the other side, you're going to have banks that make sure that your money is in your bank and it does reach your destination. So the idea is that Quant is trying to make a new platform and a new form of network where there's interconnections, and that allows for seamless transactions where you don't need to be inefficient, or you don't need to waste time on these transactions where it's all pretty much automated. And yeah, that's very good, very great news, to be fair, and there's going to be more on that later on, so let's carry on.
Central bank digital currencies are inevitable. If you look at all the stats, 80% of central banks looking at a CBDC and what it means, and there's others that are piloting, and there's some that have actually implemented CBDCs. So a central bank digital currency is pretty much a reset of how money should work and how the whole infrastructure should be set out. And so what that means to banks is there is a new form of money they need to be ready for.
cash is in decline massively. We've got today's digital money, which is not super smart. It works okay, but there's quite a lot of friction in it. And then we've got things like cryptocurrencies coming up. We've got private currencies from big tech companies coming up. So where we're at the moment, we're at a bit of a crossroads. What are consumers going to be using to pay for things? And CBDC is kind of the answer to that in terms of where do you want to go, right? Do you want your money to be owned by and controlled by random people on the internet, by massive tech companies, or by the government you elected? Today's money it varies a lot, right? In the UK, it's great. We have some of the best payment systems in the world. In other countries, it's not so good. But there's only so much you can do with it. There's no programmability, there's no automation, it isn't very smart, and it's quite fragmented. CBDC promises to add a whole level of programmability and automation to people's money so that they've got a lot more control over what it does and how it works without having to manually touch it all the time.
At Quant,
So to kind of clarify for those of you that are not aware or are unsure as to what he means by programmability and automation, well, we say that the old school style of transactions, so using like paper, cash, or like coins, is pretty much backdated, or even our current digital currencies are backdated, because the idea of programmability means that no currency is suited to a use case scenario. So that means if a certain company wants to send some certain money to another company, there are some certain criteria that only those two companies need to agree to then allow the funds to be changed or interchanged, or even if you want to like send assets to and from one place and another. So the programmability feature means that you can basically cater that currency and design some rules and some instructions that allows for an efficient movement of funds and assets in between parties. And the automation part pretty much means that like there doesn't need to be another person on the other end making sure that the money has been processed through. It's more like as long as the criteria is met, and then as long as the rules have been followed through accordingly, all the funds are going to be transferred easily, and the CBDCs pretty much are going to be the best case of use for these transactions. And for the CBDCs, ideally the main thing is they don't want them to be run by third parties or people that you don't know, so strangers. So like cryptocurrencies basically can go up in value or down in value just depending on some certain things that are out of your control, and that's not really good for the value of the money. So CBDCs such as Quant, which is what they're trying to create, the Quant crypto token, which there's going to be more on that later, is pretty much going to be the essence of this blockchain technology that Gilbert Verdian is actually working towards.
We've been at the forefront of blockchain technology, first starting out by establishing standards for the industry to build the technology. We've created a central bank digital currency platform where all central banks can actually test practically the theoretical concepts of a CBDC and what it means for them. But more importantly, the banks can start integrating central bank technology into their payment systems. One of the projects we've been working on has been with the Bank of England and the BIS on Project Rosalind. We provided the whole platform and the technology by having interoperable CBDCs within the central bank itself, and that was used by industry to test people like Barclays, people like Amazon, people like MasterCard, to test all of their CBDC applications and use cases on top of our platform in a real world setting. So this means they don't have to wait for a CBDC to be enabled. They can actually start testing, integrating, building, and making sure their banks are ready for central bank digital currencies. So what we'd like to do is work with other central banks around the world, but also take our technology to different markets so they can test it with their domestic banks as well.
So yeah, pretty much like he said, and like I've mentioned before, yeah, the CBDCs are going to be the main form of digital currencies that are going to be used for transactions in the modern world. And Quant has made that platform the Overledger network, which is there's more on that on the website. So I suggest you guys do your own research as well if you're interested. But yeah, the idea is that the platform is going to be used by central banks currently, so that they can first of all test and trust and understand more about this currency or form of transactions or payment, and then they can test out the theoretical concepts and integrate the technology into their own current existing payment system. So like banks like Barclays, Santander, HSBC, you know, all of these huge banks in the UK or in England that are often used by the general consumer. The idea is that they can also implement the programmability and automation feature of CBDCs using the QNT token, and that's pretty much what Gilbert Verdian is trying to achieve here. And that's almost like guaranteed to increase the value of the QNT token, because as of right now, we don't really have much QNT token going on or available. And you know, within the analysis I'm going to show you guys in a bit, I'll go into a bit more detail as to how the QNT token actually works.
The changes are huge. I mean, we're already seeing the ability to create logic to make money smart, bring out some really powerful use cases that benefit consumers like you and me and benefit businesses, because it really takes friction away. It automates a lot of complex workflows, but it makes your money, your bank account in your money roam.
If I'm selling you something and you promise to pay me, I've just got to trust you. If it's a CBDC, you can promise to pay me and you can lock the money for me, right? So you can't spend that money on anything else. I know you're good for it. So then I'll send you whatever it is that you're buying from me. You don't pay until you've received it. You look at it, you go, okay, this isn't broken. Martin wasn't lying about it. I want to pay it. You sign for it with a delivery company. Delivery company is connected to the system. That releases the money that was locked in your bank account to me. That principle applies to lots of different transactions.
The whole concept of transforming the financial system is very complex and very difficult to do. What we're doing as Quant is really being the pioneer in this space, making the leap to digital currencies from central banks or to commercial bank money very easy and seamless to do. We're making it easy to integrate into existing systems. Banks can get involved today. They can do a private-public partnership. They can co-create what a CBDC should look like for them. They can have a seat at the table to provide their requirements. And what we do as Quant is really help everyone evolve to a new form of money, to a new form of smart money.
And yeah guys, that pretty much was our reaction to the video for what Gilbert Verdian had to say about the use case for Quant and what Quant is and their purpose in the grand scheme of things. And with that being said, let's kind of head on over to our chart here just to check out more about Quant and more information on it. As you guys can see, the Quant token for today is down by 2.3%, sitting at a pretty flat value of $106.86. It's not too low, but obviously it has dropped throughout the day, you know, reached a high of $110, 110.57, but now it's dropped about, you know, $4 and $5 around that mark. Overall, the market cap is also down slightly, but still quite high at $1.28 billion. And the circulating volume, circulating volume is slightly down to 18.99%. And yeah, the crypto token, this QNT token, is actually pretty stable overall. It's a very safe investment, and it's more like a consistent crypto coin compared to the other ones, because, you know, the price doesn't really fluctuate as much. As you guys can see, even if we scroll out to the 7 days, we can see that the price has reached a high of 117.92, almost the $120 mark. But you know, even then, when it dropped, it didn't drop as much, and whenever it did drop in price, it always managed to get back up very quickly. So it has a very strong support line, and that makes sure that the Quant token never depreciates in value too much. And the Quant, to invest in Quant, the idea is that you want to hold on for long-term gains, because it's not one of those tokens that you can get off rich pretty quickly. So it's not like you invest in it and then you can just sell it off after a little bit. So the Quant token, it actually relies a lot on the Overledger platform and their main thing, which is the interoperability feature that Gilbert Verdian basically talked about on his video. So the idea of that is to allow, you know, multiple institutions, financial systems, and mainly banks as well, to use the Quant token in their Quant Overledger platform, and with that they can basically make use smart money and then make better transactions, more efficient transactions, and so on and so forth. So it's a developing project, and the value is going to increase with successful deployment of the Overledger network, as he has mentioned, and it's pretty imminent that the price will hit the $1,000 mark very soon. And you know, this is a great master plan that he has, and he's just a mind-blowing person as to what he's trying to achieve here. So the breakthrough to reaching $1,000 Quant will be pretty much coming up within the year 2024, as you know, more banks and more institutions start to test out the currency in the platform, and you know, they'll see that how useful it is and how beneficial it is in our modern world. And yeah, the thing I also want to mention about the Quant token is actually the circulating supply. As you guys can see here, you know, we are currently covering up about 12 million QNT tokens out of the available 14.8. So that's about 81% of the circulating supply currently being taken up by investors such as myself and so many others. So for the general consumer or someone that's interested in buying in Quant, you have to understand that this is very limited supply. So with only 19% being available, there's actually not much available for people to investing in, and the 81% actually shows that the people that are holding for a long time, and they're not selling off quickly for monetary gains. The idea is that you can make a gain and make a profit over the long run as the project develops, and you know, more successful information and news comes around about their Overledger platform. And yeah, with that being said, also let's check out some very important tweets over here that I have that kind of explain why it's only a matter of time where Quant actually, you know, explodes and starts pumping like crazy, hitting that $1,000 mark very soon. So yeah, the first thing over here is actually pretty interesting, which says that the blockchain based 6G mobile networking service will be pretty much used through the Quant Overledger network platform. So the next generation of mobile networks is expected to be an open, generic, and multi-party participatory digital platform for both emerged new application services and traditional mobile internet/voice call services. To meet the ambitious target, 6G network itself first needs to be more resilient to failures in an open, zero-trust environment and highly interoperable for interactions from externals. Unfortunately, the existing design approach for 5G, which is still with a monolithic and operator-centric thinking, seems not quite helpful. And the main thing here is, actually just to summarize it, is that the Overledger network will allow for a better way to intercommunicate between parties, and you know, using the QNT token for those communications and for those transactions, it will make it a lot easier to implement a new mobile network, which is basically 6G. So we're trying to make the leap from 5G to 6G and make it more broadly accessed by the general public. And yeah, after that we have another tweet here which is extremely important, and you know, it's just evident that the Quant token will not stay within the $100 mark. Even though it's a very solid and supported solid $100, it will very strongly rise in value and pump like crazy, and the 10x will come very soon. So the update over here is that we saw Quant break out to the upside, touching $120 over the last couple of months. So this is a resistance for QNT, and we have been rejecting and now back down trading at the $106 mark. As you guys can see, literally we are $106. So from this current chart for QNT, I can see us trading in this zone for quite some time until a breakout can occur. But in reality, no one really knows when, but I see this as a major indicator for when this can pop like crazy. So yeah, over on this graph, like as you guys can see, you know, the value of the QNT token has actually risen and dropped, but it's pretty much being very stable throughout the last couple of days. So this is a better overview of the graphs. As you guys can see, you know, it has pumped like crazy, a lot of big green candles, as you guys can see. Then there are some red candles, but even though there's a drop or a decline in the value, the support line being around the $95 mark, or even better, right now we are at the $100 mark. Every time the value of the QNT token has dropped, it always managed to bounce back up. It's because it's being very stable and it experiences some resistance over here around the $120 mark. As the tweeter said, you know, it's pretty much imminent that the value will start to pop like crazy very soon. So this is an 82-day range, and some are expecting a correction for the market, and this in turn will pull the price for Quant all the way down to $87 or $78, like we have seen in the months for, like, I think it was August or September, or maybe late October. But I will be DCA within this zone up until a breakout towards the upside. So remember, we have a lot more people getting into crypto every day. More money flow will be pouring in this, and has been. Retail has not really caught on yet, but in due time. And this is all just circumstantial evidence, guys, and there's just so much more evidence circulating the internet that shows to you why Quant is such a great project, why it's such an incredible investment, and why Gilbert Verdian, alongside many others, alongside myself, actually believe in this project and the use of this project in the real world. So the Quant token is actually one of a kind that actually has so much more to offer than on the surface level, and I always urge everyone, and any of you guys that are new investors in the crypto market or the crypto space, to do your own research. If you do your own research on this coin, you will understand a lot more that I have just not been able to mention throughout this one single video. So yeah, with all of that being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, have understood more about Quant, and you know, if you have made it all the way through, I would suggest you guys to kindly drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and a comment on what your thoughts on Quant's price will be within the end of 2023. You know, that will be pretty great. And with that being said, I have been Crypto Insider, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.